watch some movies and some popcorn. Here we are.
Nice.
Back to the Unwatched Pile.
Back to the Unwatched Pile. I feel like I'm in a 90s video game.
Well,
that's what that soundtrack sounds like.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. I mean,
a
it's
fighting game. It sounds like Streets of Rage. I don't know if everybody knows that video game series, but it sounds like that.
Ready, fight!
You're just walking around the streets beating up people. That's the premise of those games.
Yeah. Well, here we are, back to another installment of the Unwatched Pile. I'm Stephen Billings. Andrew Cabral is here with me. And of course, the guest will be here in a second. If you have not listened or watched this show before, let me tell you what it's about. The Unwatched Pile is a show where we, as collectors of physical media, sometimes we are a little over enthusiastic and we buy things that we have not seen. Maybe we've looked them up and said, oh, that looks interesting. So we buy them anyway because we're like, I'll get around to it. And as collectors, we overwhelm ourselves and we don't end up watching that thing we said we were going to watch. So it sits on your shelf. Collects dust. This show is where we dust that shit off and we bring it back out and we watch it and we
sometimes literally dust them off.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's nothing that collects more dust than shelves with your movies on them.
Exactly. Or books or porno mags, whatever you collect.
Whatever you got. Whatever you got.
They collect dust. And so we take one off. Each me, Andrew, and a guest, we take one off. We watch it. We come and discuss. And then my favorite part, we pair that film with another film in our collection that we have seen. You pair them up in whatever way you like to, however you like your double features. Do you like them where you match up actors, you match up directors, you match up thematic elements? That's the way I typically go. Because to me, sometimes it's difficult and I have to go for an actor or director, but I usually try to find the nuggets of what the movie at the core is about and then try to find a good pair. So that's what we do here on the Unwatched Pile. So let's get into it. Back again. I think this is maybe his third time on this particular program. He does a show with us on the regular called Movies Down Memory Lane. That is the Florida man, not the guy that stands outside and does crazy shit, but he is from Florida and he is a film critic. Dan Skip Allen.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Long time no see. It was on Saturday that I saw y'all last. Yeah.
Not long enough.
Well, not long enough.
So if you won't know this, maybe, I don't know, but just so you know, at the beginning of this, Andrew's doing this a lot better, but Dan will be half paying attention because the Red Sox are playing a playoff game. So if you see Dan wandering off, it's not that he has a wandering eye or wandering eyes, or it's that there's a important baseball game going on right now. So though it's the first game of a 3-game series, so it's like whatever. How you doing, Dan?
But the things that are important. The Unwatched Pile is important, but there's things that are important that
sure things that happen literally have had. I mean, if this was 2003, I would be like, it is pretty important. Now they've won like 3 World Series since then, so I don't four. See, it's even worse. So I don't have any. Like, oh, this is really important. His team is really hurting. No. So back to the thing that matters right now, the Unwatched Pile. So all 3 of us picked unwatched films in our collections. Dan, you want to go ahead and start us off, or do I need to go to Andrew?
No, you can start me off after. Oh man.
Maybe not.
Something just happened. Okay. No, I'm good though. All right. Yeah. A movie that I've had for a little while now, but a movie that I always wanted to see because of my predilection for loving gangster films. And I was like, oh, wait, the Criterion Collection's putting this movie on their collection. Hi.
Humboldt.
Hi. And so I was like, wow, I got to get that because I love gangster films. And so, and the Criterion is really good about that. They did the Roaring 20s and they did a couple other type of things. And so, oh my God. So I got this movie starring Paul Muni, George Raft, and Boris Karloff called Scarface. And it's produced by Howard Hughes and directed by Howard Hawks. Oh, what an amazing movie. And, you know, we know that there's a lot of movies that are coming out in the last 50 or so years, 30, 40, 50 years, that have gotten their remakes of movies from 70, 80, 90 years ago. And, oh my God.
Guys, I'm sorry. I know what Dan's going through right now, and it's not good.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. So the Scarface came out in 1932, people. 1932. And wow, what an amazing movie this was. I mean, the performances from specifically Paul Muni, George Raft. There's a few women that I don't have off the top of my head right now. I thought I would try to look them up ahead of time and remember them, but I don't remember the names of the women that are really good in this as well. But I just want to champion the cinematography, which is gorgeous, glorious black and white cinematography. Just like there's a haziness, a cloudiness, but it's just so good. Like Boris Karloff is playing a gangster and not a monster, which, oh my God, Boris Karloff is playing a real guy instead of a monster, Frankenstein or the Mummy or something like that. But I wasn't familiar with a lot of Paul Muni movies before this. And I was glad to have seen Paul Muni in this. Obviously, his friend, Tony's friend, played by George Raft, is really good in this. I just thought this was such an amazing movie. And I didn't have a chance to watch a lot of the special features, which I kind of resent. I resent right now because I wish I had a chance to watch some of the special features. But I was able to watch it. You know, they're using Tommy guns, and it's about prohibition and all that good stuff of that era of gangster movies. You know, it's Italians versus Irish, which I love, you know. But yeah, I don't know what else more I could say about Scarface, but this is a fantastic film.
Yeah, I'd hate to potentially ruin your double feature by saying how it compares to another movie. But we'll get
do that.
I'm not going to do that. I had a feeling that that's what you were going to do. Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance. I don't think I've watched this one. I you know, I've always been aware of it, and when it got to Criterion, I was definitely intrigued. But Andrew, you've seen it, haven't you?
I have seen it. I've seen it a couple of times actually, because oftentimes it was coupled with the remake, which is super famous, super well known. I think every young cinephile has seen Scarface at some point in their lives.
It's become culture. The remake became a cultural kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a cultural, I would say, I don't know, phenomena is too much of a word, but definitely culturally significant amongst a lot of young, not even like cinephiles, even just like people who casually watch movies know of Scarface because of Al Pacino and his over-the-top acting in that movie, and Michelle Pfeiffer's in that movie as well. And, you know, that being a remake of a 1932 film, which I don't think a lot of people know.
I was going to say most people don't know. You know,
no, people don't know that it's, people also probably don't know that this is one of the movies that led to there being a movie production code. The Hays Code was introduced because of this movie. Well, one of the reasons was this movie, because this movie from 1932 is incredibly violent. A lot of machine gun use, a lot of people getting gunned down in streets and drive-bys. The whole climax of this movie is a big old gun battle. I mean, there's a lot going on in there. And it's just a heck of a movie that was pushing the envelope of the time and was ahead of its time. And it's loosely based on real life gangster stuff that was going on with like Al Capone and things like that. So it was very much a reflection of the reality of the time. So an incredibly important movie for like historical cinematic reasons. Plus also it's a great movie from a great director in Howard Hawks. Yeah. You know, it's fantastic because it also is kind of one of the staples of 1930s gangster films, which would then lead into, I think, kind of morphing into film noir of the 1940s, which is it has that same type of edgy vibe to it. So all very important stuff. But yeah, I've always liked the movie. Like I said, even when I bought the Blu-ray of the Scarface, the Brian De Palma film, it came with the 1932 version, and then you could buy the 1932 version on its own. Then Criterion put it out. But yeah, a good pick. I'm surprised Dan hadn't seen it before, since you're such a big fan of gangster movies. This is kind of like a granddaddy precursor to modern day gangster movies.
Yeah, it's sometimes things happen and you just things slip through the cracks and stuff. But I was glad I was just glad that I had a chance to see it, because I mean, it really was. I mean, I want to champion the cinematography. Just absolutely
great black and white cinematography, and it all takes place like at night too. Like all the scenes are at night, so it's all shadowy. When people get gunned down in the streets, you just see like their shadows get gunned down. It's good stuff.
And the times you're gonna love the time, how movies are made in sometimes, like there's social clubs and things like that, because prohibition is going on. So, and they're like a bar, and they're smoking in like one room, and there's no windows and stuff. It's like, dang man, I would not want to be in that room smoking and drinking with 30 other dudes, But
it's a time capsule piece.
It really is the time. But I just want to say the women in it, and I didn't get the women's names, and I feel bad about that, but they're really good in this version as well. And just on one more thing is, there is a third remake, a third film coming out, I believe, next year, I believe. Not Danny Houston, but Jack Houston. Is it Jack Houston? He was in the remake of what's the one with the chariot race?
Ben-Hur.
Jack
Houston.
Yeah, Jack Houston.
It's the grandson of John Houston.
Yeah, he is supposedly doing a third version of this next year. It's going to come out, I believe. Don't quote me now.
I heard that they were working on that for years, and they couldn't quite figure it out.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it might not come out at all. But I heard he was going to be in it, but who knows? So we'll see. But yeah, real quick, we see movies like The Fly and The Thing, and we say, oh, they're based on other movies. You know what I mean? But who saw the Thing from Another World, or who saw The Fly, the originals? And then when you see the new ones, The Fly and The Thing, you're like, oh my God, these are incredible, and it makes you want to go look at those older movies. And that's
it doesn't for most people.
And what is interesting is,
unfortunately, newer generations of film watchers are not going and looking for whatever
films from the 1930s. I mean,
they're not.
But it's interesting, because I would say that this is one of the cases where
I already knew you won like a minute ago.
Yeah, so did I. Did you not see me?
TV's behind that.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that this is one of those cases where both the original and the remake are very, very good. There's that idea that, the remake's never as good as the original.
310 to Yuma, for example.
I think they're both. Yeah, I think they're both. Those are both.
I was going to say them, but that's pretty close.
Yeah. Seven, Magnificent Seven,
and Seven Samurai.
True Grit. Magnificent Seven.
Grit. They're both very good.
And this is one of the examples where the new one is equal to the original. Yeah.
And the new one is so different, yet it's the same rise and fall story. It's the classic rise and fall, where like the ride to the top is great, but then the ride down is self-destructive and doesn't end well. Which is the classic gangster film. It's a classic. It's a classic Martin Scorsese film.
You say you never saw this, Steven?
I have not.
Oh wow, okay.
Adam Schofield says, hi all. Paul Mooney's follow-up film was equally violent and bleak. I Am a Fugitive from a chain gang.
That movie needs a Blu-ray release. That's a good film.
Yeah. I've heard of that one. Yeah, I've heard
of it. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, Paul Mooney is an underrated actor. He was in
is he good?
He was in The Life of Emile Zola, which I think just got a Blu-ray release from the Warner Archive. Paul Mooney is an actor a lot of people do not talk about enough, in my opinion.
Okay. Josie, of course, is here saying hi to all of us. She just saw one battle after the other on Saturday, said it was amazing. and finished reading The Undead Fox of the Deadwood Forest by Aubrey Hartman.
Sounds interesting.
I'm seeing one better off the other on Thursday.
I saw it yesterday. I can't wait to
see.
see what you think of it.
Yeah, and I know Dan's seen it. So
saw it last week. Yeah, I saw it last week. Early last week. It was phenomenal. Front runner for Best Picture and Best Director.
All right, calm down, Dan. There's a lot more shit coming out. New watches, Time Cop, good call. Van Damme. My favorite, Burnett from 47, Running on Empty, good one there. That's the one with, is that the River Phoenix film?
Yeah, River Phoenix, Judd Hirsch.
Yeah. Coming on, Carry On Screaming from 66. Carry On Regardless, a lot of carry-ons.
I know.
Is that Carry On Spy? She must have just looked up Carry On stuff. Sneakers the
Robert Redford.
Is that a Spike Lee?
Robert Redford, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The Big Bus from 76. There it is, Sneakers.
I gotta get that Sneakers edition. If I could get a job, I can make some money.
Yeah, well, or save some money, Dan. God damn it. Just save it. Save some of it, Dan.
Oh my God.
Not here. All right. So good stuff. Scarface from 32. So now we're going to run over to Andrew. He's going to tell us what his first time watch is.
Yeah, so my first time watch is something I actually just got in June, but it's a movie I've been wanting to watch for about 11 years because it came out
whole life
11 years ago. So I've been like waiting 11 years to buy the Blu-ray, and then I finally got it. Initially, there was a release by Universal Pictures. Then it recently got a re-release from G-Kids and Shout Factory, and that is the Studio Ghibli film, The Tale of the Princess Kaguya. And this was a very critically acclaimed, beloved film at the time it came out. I remember so many people talking about it. And I think it got a limited theatrical release here back in 2014. It got a release in Japan in 2013. So it's been around for quite a while. And I finally got around to watching it. And it is as good as everybody says it is. It is such a beautifully rendered, artistic, expressionistic film. As you can tell just from the cover here, and as you can see even a little bit on the back here, just the art style is very unique. It feels like a storybook. That's kind of how I would attribute the art style to being. It looks entirely hand-drawn, kind of like almost like watercolors almost. It's very fascinating the way it is. I have never seen an art style quite like it for an animated film, at least not that I've seen. And this movie is an interesting fairy tale. It's based on a fairy tale from the 10th century Japan, and it's a fascinating story. It's unlike anything I've seen before. I was kind of really taken with it. So initially, the premise of this movie is that there's this bamboo woodcutter and his wife living in the rural forest in Japan, right? And his job is he cuts down bamboo. That's what he does. And one day he's in the forest cutting down bamboo on his land, and he comes across miraculously a tiny little being that just sprouts out of the ground, out of this bamboo shoot. And initially it's this little tiny princess that he can hold in his hand. And then it becomes a baby, like a human baby. And he and his wife take in this miraculous human baby, at least they believe so to be human, and they raise it as their own child. So this movie is definitely dealing with a lot of familial themes, parental themes, supernatural, spiritual stuff, and they raise this child and they want to give this child a better life. And what ends up happening is, like I said, supernatural, miraculous, fairy tale stuff going on. The father, while cutting bamboo one day, gold just happens to sprout out of this bamboo shoot, just like little pieces of gold. And he takes this gold to set up his daughter to have what he perceives as a better, more happy life of being a princess. He wants her to be a princess. And he takes this gold, goes to the capital city, builds this big luxurious house, brings in, and then moves his family there, and then brings people in to teach her how to be a princess, and they name her Princess Kaguya. So it's playing on this idea that you know, like parents treat their children as if they are precious royalty. You know what I mean? Like they are their prince, they are their princess, they are their special, beings, special people. And the film goes along, and Princess Kaguya is not happy with this luxurious life. She misses the more rural life, misses her friends, misses the earth, misses, the natural life of it all. And it's her battling within herself whether to, appease her father who's doing all this for her, but she still has that ties and laments to her young, youthful life in the forest. I don't want to say what else goes on, but there's just a lot of that going on. The movie's very fantasy-like. There's a lot of beautiful artistic moments of art going on, like um, certain styles and things like that are really, really beautiful. The movie's 2 hours and 17 minutes long, but it's so engrossing. It's so engrossing that you just keep following along on this mystical, sometimes whimsical journey. The movie's existential. The movie's also a feminist allegory. It's also an allegory about nepotism and things like that. It's also a class struggle as well because this father is essentially trying to buy his way into royalty, buy his way into aristocracy, and that, of course, isn't something you can do. You're either born in it or you're not born in it. No matter how much money, no matter how much training you have, that society won't accept you if you're not part of them. That's a whole other thing too. But the movie's fantastic. If you know Studio Ghibli stuff, I don't think I've ever seen a bad Studio Ghibli movie, in my opinion. But this one is truly unique because of its artistic animation style, and just because of how deep and profound the movie really is, and very emotional as well, very humanistic too. So yeah, that's the tale of the Princess Kaguya. An 11-year-long journey is now complete.
Oh,
Let's see it.
I mean, this is it. I think they should make a movie about this particular 11-year-long journey.
I know. I remember seeing the Blu-ray of this at Best Buy 11 years ago when it came out, and being like, I gotta buy that, and I never did until now. So, making up for lost time. In typical kind of Studio Ghibli style, there's really no special features on this release, but the movie itself is worth it. But yeah, that's the tale of the Princess Kaguya.
Yeah, it's not a lack of interest, but like I just don't get a chance to watch a lot of animation that's not children oriented these days. I mean, I definitely have some stuff I guess I could pull for this show. I do have a whole studio or a Hayazaki set that I still haven't watched everything yet. But and I think I do have a couple other films that I just kind of bought out of interest that I still haven't watched. So maybe I should do that next time. Maybe we'll see. Cause I feel like I'm missing out on something here. Dan, I know you're a big animation guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love animation. I just don't love animation as much as some people. Like, I have friends that their whole podcast, their whole film criticism world that they're in is all focused around animation, and they're good guys. Michael Kay and Cam Warren, they're great guys. I did have a recommendation from buddy of mine, Jeremy Adams, to watch Grave of the Fireflies, and it took me a while. I finally watched that, though. But I have not seen the Tale of the Princess Kaguya. I am behind on my Miyazaki. I do have a 30 film Miyazaki set that I have not watched any of them.
I don't think he's done 30 movies, but yeah, okay. I don't think he's done 30. I don't think he's done 30.
Or whatever, it was 20 something.
I was going to say, I don't think it's that many.
I don't know how many are in there, but I have watched Howl's Moving Castle and The Boy and the Heron and some of them. But
Princess Mononoke.
Yeah.
Princess Mononoke's the best.
Watch that one.
That's great.
I've watched some of these. Yeah, but I haven't seen that one, unfortunately, Andrew. But there's so many movies to watch. It's hard to watch everything, and there's certain things that my predilections are kind of geared towards other types of things, like more modern movies. But hey, I'll catch up to it eventually.
It's all, man. We'll get you, man. All right. Well, so my first time watch, I kind of decided this on our recent video we did for our Criterion releases. We did September Criterion releases reviews. If you go on the channel, you can find it in their review section. Me and Andrew go over most of the releases that Criterion released this month. And the two films I reviewed were two films from French director Jacques Audiard. The beat that my heart skipped, and the other film was Read My Lips. And so I was like, I realized in kind of researching the director that he had done another film that I owned that I hadn't watched. So I decided just fuck it. I'm just gonna go ahead and watch another one of his films. Just make this a whole French film week for me. So I decided to watch this 2013 film called Rust and Bone. So Rust and Bone, you got Marion Cotillard and Mathis. I guess that's how you say his name. Mathis.
Matthias.
Shalabalala. You say
Schoenaerts.
So yeah, I remember when this came out. I remember it getting a lot of buzz, and it was one of them things where I just picked it up. I found it. It was like super cheap, and it just went on the shelf, and I never watched it. So Rust and Bone is about these two people. They don't know each other. You kind of follow at the beginning of the film. You kind of follow both of their journeys. Mathis's character's name is, I guess it's pronounced Alan. Alan, he is he's an ex-convict, and he's like starting to restart his life. Or maybe I'm wrong. Am I thinking of another movie? Is he an ex-con? Do you remember, Andrew?
So he was an ex-con in the Mustang. He was an ex-con in the Mustang where he played a horse. Well, basically,
he's starting. It seemed like he was. I can't, for some reason, because I've watched so many movies this week, I'm blanking on his beginnings. But he's basically trying to start up his life again. He's got a son. He's got an ex. He's trying to get his life together, and so he's trying to get regular work. He's doing jobs like security because he has kind of a background in fighting and stuff like that. So he's doing that, and at the same time, Marion Cotillard, she is a whale trainer, like at a SeaWorld, for Americans, and so she trains the dolphins. She participates in the shows that they do, and so, and her name is, as I waste time here,
it's Stephanie.
Very American name. Makes no sense. But so Stephanie, she goes to a club one night, and and Alan's character is doing security there. There's a scuffle. He runs into her. He helps her out, gets her home, and from there, just that brief encounter of, him helping her. They make a connection, and then a terrible accident happens to Stephanie. And it's not really, I don't think this is really a spoiler because it's kind of the main incident, one of the main incidents that kind of drives the movie. So I don't think you think I'm spoiling the movie saying this?
I don't think so. I think it's important to kind of know
the inciting incident that kind of gets the story going. So there's a bad accident that happens while one of the shows that Stephanie's doing, and she ends up losing both of her legs from the knees down. And so now she's obviously in a very dark place. And just from that brief encounter she had with Alan, she after months of rehab, getting back into a kind of a normal thing, she reaches out to him for kind of help, because she didn't have anybody to talk to. She don't have and sometimes it's hard when you're going through something like this to be around people that like your family, because that they're going to be a lot more touchy and asking questions and a little bit more in your face, but somebody that's from the outside, they're going to kind of be a little bit, it's different. It's just different. And so he calls him in to help her. They go to the beach, things like that. And so slowly there becomes like a little bit of a relationship starting here. But at the same time, he's also going through his own things with his son, and he starts doing on the side. He meets this guy where he starts doing these kind of like off the books, these like fights, these essential bookie, make extra money on the side fights. And I guess that's as far as I'll go, at least. But like, I found the movie to be like, a lot of the movie was very kind of depressing for a little while there. Definitely depressing. You're following two people that are kind of really lost in their life. And I think, a lot of the themes about this movie are about how people, sometimes two lost people coming together can heal each other, can, find a way to relate to each other and make each other better. And I think that that's what happens in this film. It just happens in kind of ways that are very like, for me, especially when it comes to the Alon character. Like, I'll be honest with you, even at the end of the movie, I didn't like him. That was the one thing about this.
He's an interesting character because he's got a lot of internal aggressive demons that he's battling.
And the thing is one thing that bothered me is I don't know that we explored why. I mean, other than, if I'm remembering correctly, if he was in prison, maybe prison's why he's so aggressive. And that's what I'm forgetting, why he, where he was at the beginning of the story. So that aggressiveness, it affects his son, especially. You see, and that's where it really, because now that I'm a parent, anytime I see kids get abused in any way in a movie now, it just really, it feels different. And so there's a few times in this movie where things happen and it just makes me hate this fucking guy. And like, doesn't want him to have any kind of chances, especially with what happens at the end of the film. It's one of them things, but it is, I think at the core of the movie, it is a movie about people that are broken, can heal each other. There's something to related, being around people that can relate to you and not judge you. Is a nice thing. I think it's a real thing. And I think there is a nice soul to this movie. I don't necessarily like his character, but maybe if I knew a little bit more, or maybe I missed something, if I knew a little more about why he's the way he is, I could maybe understand him better, but I don't know that I got that. I think the way the movie was showing him was that he's just a very aggressive person that likes to fight, and that's who he is. And I don't know. You both have seen the movie. Dan, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, this is a really tough movie to watch. It's these are the kind of movies that I love. Movies that are about really turmoil and struggle and hard times and realistic stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a real movie. Like, it's not. These things are things that happen to people every day, and just seeing this very grounded level, even the fact that she loses, we see shit like this in the news, like things like this happen to people. It's not it's not a weird thing where, so yeah. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, these performances are incredible. This is nominated for an Academy Award. Was it international feature or?
I think well, I don't know that it got an Academy Award. It does say it got a Golden Globe nominee for Best Foreign Film and Best Actress.
Yeah, it got 2 BAFTA nominations as well, for Best Lead Actress and Best, International Language Film.
Yeah, this is a awards contender back when it came out. A lot of people were talking about how just like gut wrenching this movie is, and that's the kind of movies I love. I love movies like that. That's where people have that struggle and that pain and that inner turmoil and things are going wrong in life. That's a depiction of real life to me, not the happy.
Yeah, and this movie came out in 2012, and I bought this Blu-ray back then on a whim. I knew nothing about this movie other than I knew who Marion Cotillard was at the time, because she had just been in Inception.
Yeah.
You know, I believe this
She
was
won an Oscar for playing Edith Piaf.
Lavigne Rose.
Lavigne Rose.
And I remember that, and I also remember because this was around the time where it was kind of the rise of Marion Cotillard. Like I said, she was in Inception, then she was in Dark Knight Rises, and then this movie was on Blu-ray, and it was yet again. Best Buy back in the day used to have cool stuff, and they had Rust and Bone, and I remember buying it just randomly, and I watched it, and I was blown away by this movie at the time. Granted, I was a younger, more naive cinephile that was just getting into movies really around 2011, 12, 13, the earlier days for me, and this movie blew me away because the performances were so powerful. Yeah. Like this was real, like gritty stuff. Like people going through, like you guys were saying, really tumultuous turmoil, and like emotionally deeply traumatic turmoil, and being able to kind of find these two people trying to find each other, coming together, and working through their demons together, kind of, but also on themselves, and seeing how messy that is too. It's not a clean relationship of a movie. It really isn't. There's a lot of friction there, a lot of frustration, a lot of mistakes, a lot of accidents happen. I mean, and that's kind of the way life is, and that's the way kind of human relationships are, especially ones that are as messy as this, when you're dealing with also the romantic level of it all, a physical attraction, a lot of sex happens in this movie. I mean, it's a very real movie on that level of humanity as well, where these two, attractive people are very much attracted to each other, and things happen because of that. But they're also like broken people too. It's a fascinating multi-level movie. It was the first Jacques Audiard movie I ever saw. I didn't even know who he was at the time. I think I maybe had heard that one of his movies had won the Palme d'Or by that point, but that was about it. So yeah, it was a discovery back then for me, and it's a movie I've always really, really loved and remember loving, and I never see anybody talk about it. I just never see anybody talk about it until now.
Had a movie out last year that was nominated for 13 Oscars. Jacques Audiard.
Amelia Perez, yeah.
He's I think he's definitely a director that seems to be kind of a silent killer, man. He just like keeps putting out really great films that are consistently getting attention, but we still don't really talk about his filmography that much. So
I think he's got 2 Palme d'Or winners, which is pretty impressive for a career.
Yeah. And he's French, so that's where that award, he
does have home field advantage, I guess.
No, I'm not saying that's an advantage. I'm just saying that that's probably an honor, that the fact that his own prestige of being a Frenchman and winning the award that the French give out, like that's pretty awesome. But
that's always a prestigious when you win the Palme d'Or. That's
like Americans winning the Oscar.
No. It's just because it's so far early in the year. It's almost like an instant contender for awards when you win the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, and then now it's.
I'm saying that there's a certain amount of acclaim, like prestigiousness to winning that award. It's like on the level of winning an Oscar. I think filmmakers would agree, because I mean, I think if you talk to somebody like Sean Baker, he holds that fucking Palme d'Or pretty high, because you're looking at it. You're thinking about an international film festival.
Yeah, it's a different body of recognition, recognizing you.
It's a more international viewpoint of looking at films, instead of just the people that are mostly, I would say, Americans that don't watch a lot of movies.
Well, yeah, it's the
body of the Oscars.
It's Hollywood's kind of big award. What I mean? It's kind of the Hollywood award.
A lot of times the Cannes Film Festival Palme d'Or doesn't translate to the Academy Award. So sometimes lately it's been because of Neon. Neon's won like 5 in a row, and that's translated to a lot of awards buzz. But typically it's some off the wall weird movie.
Yeah, I would say it looks like ironically, I think Honora is like the only one in recent times that has won both the Palme d'Or and the Best Picture. Parasite was the previous one.
Yep.
But before then,
yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is that the voting bodies of both of these awards, are different. So I think that when you look at the voting body of the Cannes Film Festival, it's a little bit more of an international voting body that I think probably has a little bit more of a variety of cinema than.
Well, it also, Stephen, it's a group of people that are different every year. They have a judging group that is different every year. They have a lead who's in charge of it, and then they have a different. So it could be who knows every year. So
Which is probably a good thing, though.
Yeah, no, that is a good thing. But this past, Venice was the one that had the controversial. Okay, never mind.
It did.
But yeah, I was getting my film festivals mixed up.
But Rust and Bone, fantastic, and I'll be interested to see what you think about my pairing. I think you'll like my pairing.
Curious to see what you're going to pair with this. I'm also curious to see what Dan's going to pair with Scarface.
Well, we're gonna.
Yeah, well,
whatever. All right.
You guys aren't that curious because
I'm so curious. What?
You're not that curious because you guys know what it is already.
What are you gonna pair Scarface?
The 1930 Scarface.
How original!
Oh, what a surprise! What a surprise! What a surprise! We were leading you. We're giving you the breadcrumbs. We're giving you.
Let me get a whole pound of cocaine here.
No, I mean,
Dan, I thought you were gonna pull a fast one and do something.
Nah,
original.
I thought about doing The Godfather, to be honest with you. But I thought about doing The Godfather, but I was like, nah, you know what? I think there's enough differences between the 1932 Scarface and the 1982. 50 years, I might add. They came separate. 50 years later, they did the remake.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you think it is about the Scarface story that makes it something that they feel like they need to remake for a third time? What's so interesting about? Because I would assume the filmmakers of the new film have seen both of these films. So what's so great about this story that it's being told again?
Well, it's the rags to riches kind of that you're a nothing, you're a bum, you're being told what to do, you're being bossed around, you don't have money, you kind of don't have the girl, you don't have a house, you don't have the car, and then all of a sudden, little by little, one thing leads to another, and you end up being the guy on top, and then you have all of that, and once you have all that, like it's like musicians and athletes where they have all this money. They come from nothing and they have all this money and stuff. And then they just do drugs and they do stupid stuff and they beat their girlfriends and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then they go from the top of the game and then down to nothing. And that's what it is about Scarface and the story of Scarface. It's so cinematic in nature that like Tony Montana, he came over on a boat and then he ends up in a camp underneath I-95 in Miami, and one thing leads to another, and he has to do a hit, and then he ends up working as a dishwasher, and that leads to something else, and it's just like it's a rags to riches kind of story, but it's like a negative rags to riches.
Well, I was going to say
it ends up being the bad guy instead of the good guy.
It's the American dream,
yeah,
but then drenched in blood and drugs.
It's a perverted version of the American dream.
Yeah, it really is. And this guy Tony Montana, he's uneducated. He's from Cuba, and it's Al Pacino.
My little friend.
It's Al Pacino playing one of his most iconic roles to date.
That people would shun today because he's not Cuban.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, God forbid Al Pacino's playing a Cuban, and he's not. He's phenomenal as a Cuban.
They would have to get somebody like Javier Bardem to play him today.
Yeah, they would get somebody.
Javier Bardem's not Cuban.
Well, he's not, but he's close. He's close.
Ironically, is he played Desi Arnaz? Didn't he play Desi Arnaz?
He did.
And people criticized because he's not Cuban.
Yeah,
that's terrible.
Well, it's called acting, people.
But this is directed by Brian De Palma, I believe, from a script of Oliver Stone or Brian De Palma. I mean, I think Oliver Stone was involved in the screenplay, but it's got some amazing Oscar-winning actors in this thing. F. Murray Abraham's in this. Robert Loggia's in it. He's not an Oscar, but he's a good actor. He's been in movies like Big. Michelle Pfeiffer is in here. And she's absolutely gorgeous, coming off, I believe, Grease 2 or Grease one of the Grease movies at this point in her career. And she's fantastic in this, but it's just got a vividness, a color palette that's just so gorgeous. You know, the reds and the greens and the yellows and the palm trees and the Miami beach and the beaches and the pools and the cars and all this. It just looks totally different than the 1932 Scarface. But it's great in all these other different ways. You know, Brian De Palma is a great director, and he didn't make a lot of movies, but this is one of his great movies that he did make that people come back to all the time. And of course, you know, Al Pacino would work with him later on in Carlito's Way and stuff like that. But yeah, Al Pacino's incredible in this movie, and I know gangster like gangster rappers and stuff like that. These guys all took up this whole life of Tony Montana and this whole put your gun sideways and stuff. Don't put your gun sideways. You're not going to hit what you're aiming at, because that's not how you hold a gun. If you do, and I don't know a lot about guns, but you don't hold guns that way.
Yeah, man. What do you know about guns?
But I'm telling you, don't hold your gun sideways. But all these gangster rappers and stuff like that.
It looks cool.
Yeah, I know. It looks cool. It looks cool, but it ain't feasible. You're not going to hit your target. But yeah, the coke and the drugs and all that kind of woman.
I get it. Yeah, we know from the time we've spent with you, Dan, we obviously know your film taste is a lot of illegal activity. You seem to be really relishing in things that you wish you could do. We get it. Yeah. We get it now. You wish you were a gangster.
I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a mean-spirited guy. I'm not a bad guy. I'm not into drugs. I did drink for a while. I stopped drinking. I guess I'm fascinated by that lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But of course, everybody remembers the scene at the end. Well, say hello to my little friend. You know, that, of course, and that's memed and all that crap for years and years and years. But yeah, if you haven't seen Scarface, I recommend it. But first see the original 1932 Scarface, then see the new one and see the comparison, see the different things about them. They're really great, both great films. And that's where a sequel, a reboot, lives up to the original. And it's a rarity these days that actually happens. Probably could do it, in a five times, where that's maybe 5 or 6 times where the remake actually is just as good, if not better, than the original.
Yeah, it didn't happen a lot. A lot of times they just don't understand what made the original good, so then they try to either, you know, they focus on the wrong thing, or they I don't know. Sometimes they don't know what they're doing. But that is Dan's picks for this episode. Now let's move back over to Andrew. Please tell us your pairing with the princess of that thing, whatever the other name was.
Yeah, the tale of the Princess Kaguya.
Yeah.
So pairing this up with something was very difficult, because every time I tried to do some research for it online, of course, all they gave me was other anime films to compare it with. All of the ones that people would assume: A Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, every Studio Ghibli film, every anime film you could think of.
Boring.
Like Disney animation films as well, like The Little Mermaid and stuff like that. But I wanted to go a little bit different, but it was tough to kind of pair, because I didn't do a great job of kind of explaining how unique the movie is. It's because I didn't want to spoil it, but I wanted to latch on to kind of this idea of this character who is struggling with identity and struggling with life decisions and things like that, and also trying to like escape a certain situation for the most part. And I went with the movie Roman Holiday, which I don't know if I've brought up on here before and paired it with something else.
We're gonna find out, because
I know, Steven, you were compiling the list.
I'm compiling the list right now. I'm 10 episodes in. If you are a fan, become a fan of a group, go to our group fan page, join. You can see all the previous double features that everybody has done in previous episodes. I'm compiling them. So yeah.
Great
so
film,
I feel like perhaps I've maybe paired it with something before.
I think you have.
If I have, I apologize, but this movie kind of fits because the general premise of this movie is almost fairy tale-esque, like similar to the Princess Kaguya, where in this movie, you have Audrey Hepburn, who is a princess as well. She's a real princess in this movie, as opposed to kind of a manufactured princess in, The Tale of the Princess Kaguya. But they're both characters are struggling with this role that's been placed on them. In this movie, especially at the beginning of this film, there is just a series of montages of Audrey Hepburn doing royal stuff, like her royal duties, and kind of being fed up with it, being bored by it, wanting a different, yearning for a different part of life. And in this movie, she ends up escaping this royal life and going into Rome and having what this movie is titled as a Roman holiday, where she meets this newspaper man portrayed by, why am I blanking on his name? Gregory Peck, and they have this kind of day of freedom, day of, doing all kinds of experiences that she's never experienced before. She's kind of naive at it. She doesn't really, understand all of what's going on. She's just like happy to be living a normal life per se. And in The Tale of the Princess Kaguya, she yearns for that normal life that she used to have when she was younger. So it's a little kind of taking that premise and tipping it on its head, where Kaguya is yearning for a life she's already had, and the Audrey Hepburn character is yearning for a life she's never had. But they're both yearning for the same type of simple, everyday, normal life. So that's kind of the connection that I want to make with both of these movies. And without giving anything away, both movies have incredibly emotionally devastating endings that kind of do hit you like a freight train. Don't want to say what they are, but they both kind of have that connection involved as well. This is my favorite, I think, Audrey Hepburn film. It's the one I've gone back to and rewatched the most. I was just talking about Sabrina last night, a little bit on Chasing Labels, how that's one of my favorites. I think it's kind of Roman Holiday, then Sabrina, then Breakfast at Tiffany's, if I had to go in order of Audrey Hepburn films. But that's the kind of tangential connection I get with both of these movies, where they're both characters yearning for a different life and struggling with that, and then ultimately having to, make tough decisions. So that's my pairing.
I thought you were going to do Aladdin.
Okay. I was thinking of actually doing The Princess Bride. I was even thinking of Mulan, actually, but I don't think I have Mulan. But it's something about the existential journey of these female characters in a patriarchal world, because royalty is typically patriarchal. In The Tale of the Princess Kaguya, she's trying to become royalty, so she's literally being forced into a patriarchal society where her father is making all the decisions for her. And I didn't mention, but there's various suitors of men who are trying to marry her, and all this kind of stuff that's going on, very patriarchal and whatnot. She's defined by her beauty, she's defined by her wealth and all this kind of stuff. And that's been a running feminist theme through a lot of movies dealing with this type of stuff.
Cool. Yeah,
that's beautiful movie. I love as soon as I saw it on the Paramount Presents collection, I grabbed it up and bought it myself, Andrew, and watched it. I saw it when I was a kid, but that version,
looks good.
Gorgeous.
And there is a 4K of this now that came out after this. It's not part of the Paramount Presents line.
Double dips on everything.
They double dip and dupe me like bastards. Always getting me. I'm gonna buy the 4K eventually because I can't help myself, but when this came out, it was a revelation because all I had was an old DVD.
That is a 4K though, isn't it? Isn't that 4K?
It's the Blu-ray.
Oh,
it's the Blu-ray.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. I remember getting that and watching that. I think when I bought that, it was the first time I'd seen it. So,
and I don't think they changed the numbering either, Andrew. So if you buy the 4K, the numbering should be the same. They just updated to 4K. I believe that's what I was told with Paramount Presents. So you can correct me later on if that's the case.
All right, Roman Holiday. So
got two classics so far. We mentioned Roman Holiday and Scarface.
Well, I think you'll like mine. I think mine's a classic.
All right, let's see.
Pretty I mean, it's relatively modern, but I think you can agree that it's probably going to have classic status eventually. So the thing, I was, trying to rack my brain for, first it was, movies about relationships that were complicated, type of movies like that. Just trying to find the right vibe that felt like it could be a good pairing for this. I did think about a movie called Manchester by the Sea that was pretty heavy. Didn't go that way. I knew Dan liked it too much, so I was like, nah, never mind. But plus, it didn't really have enough for me to latch on. Like, not enough.
There's not a lot. There's only kind of one real scene,
heavy moment that anchors the whole movie. It didn't have a lot character-wise that really attached, So I just kept trying to figure out which depressing movie style type of movie would fit Rust and Bone. And when I landed on this one, I felt pretty. At first, I felt good, and then I felt great about it. Once I rewatched it, and I was like, the character at the center of this movie is kind of an encapsulation of both of these characters in Rust and Bone. And the movie I chose is Darren Aronofsky's The Wrestler.
Yeah. That's heavy topics in that. Real heavy topics in that. You're right about that, Steve.
Talk about a broken character.
Really,
So The Wrestler, of course, is about a guy that's a wrestler that is kind of way past his prime. He's still wrestling. He's doing like the indie circuit, and he's just kind of hanging on by a thread, a lot of ailments. He's estranged from his daughter. His best friend's a stripper, played by Marissa Tomei. And the thing I latched onto that I thought really, like I said, I think he's kind of an encapsulation of both characters from Rust and Bone, because obviously the Alon character from Rust and Bone likes to fight. Obviously, he's a wrestler. They both literally, one's in a wrestling's put on, but it's still physical, and you get hurt. Alon in Rust and Bone actually fist fights and for money, but similar there. And also, spoiler alert, if you've not seen The Wrestler, I'm going to go ahead and give you a chance. There's a thing that happens to Mickey Rourke's character in The Wrestler where he essentially has a heart attack and then has to get open heart surgery. So essentially has a very big thing happen to him that physically, kind of like Marion Cotillard's character, Stephanie in Rust and Bone, something that kind of essentially keeps them from doing what they love to do. Hers was training the whales, and he's supposed to not wrestle anymore. After he has this heart attack, he's not supposed to wrestle anymore. So then he goes on kind of an existential trip of figuring out what he wants to do now. And he realizes he needs to try to mend the relationship with his daughter, played by Evan Rachel Wood. So a lot of that introspectiveness, all that kind of stuff, I felt was right up the same alley that Rust and Bone was dealing with, where you're finding somebody that's very flawed and trying to find a way to heal through his relationships with other people. The difference here is now, and this is what I would say. I would say if you're going to watch this as a double feature, watch The Wrestler first, because it's kind of the downer movie. And I think Rust and Bone has a more upper trajectory by the end of it. So like in The Wrestler, once again, spoiler alert, he kind of decides he's going to just end his life at the end. I mean, people have different perspectives on the ending of that movie. To me, I look at it as like, well, he's kind of lost everything at the end, and the only thing he has left is the fans and the thing he loves the most. So he jumps off the top rope, and you assume he's not going to survive it because he's barely hanging on. He's not supposed to be in the ring. He's already starting to feel it. So there's two different trajectories for these movies, but they ultimately are about characters that are going through a lot. They're dealing with their identity, trying to figure out where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be doing, because the thing that they got things in their life distracting them from what's important. Similarly to Alon in Rust and Bone, he has a child he's supposed to be taken care of, focused on. There's a couple times in the movie where he physically abuses him or allows something to happen to him out of like anger or neglect. And in this movie, he's got Mickey Rourke's estranged from his daughter and has been more emotionally abusive, than anything, and he just can't get it right. He keeps messing up, and then it just leads her to just not wanting to see him ever again. And then he's trying to have a relationship with Marissa Tomei, but she's got her own thing going on, and she, I think more or less is her own experiences with men has turned her off from wanting to be with anybody. Even Mickey Rourke being a nice person, a nice guy. She just looks at what he does, and I don't think looks at stability. So it's, I think at the core of the characters in Rust and Bone and what Mickey Rourke, I think it's a really nice pairing. Depressing and hard and heavy, but I think a really nice pairing when you talk about the themes. What you think, Andrew?
Yeah, so The Wrestler, I think, was the first Darren Aronofsky film I had ever seen, because I remember when it came out. When did that come out? That was it 2008 or something like that.
2000 in.
I feel like it was
2008.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was also part of Mickey Rourke's brief comeback into the world of recognition. People don't know this, but Mickey Rourke was a big time star back in the 80s when he was younger. He was in a lot of great movies. He was an A-lister. Yeah, he was a big time A-lister, and then he kind of left acting to pursue a career in boxing, I think, or something like that. And then his career kind of dissipated. He kind of went away. Then he made a big return, not only with this movie, but with Sin City as well, which came out a couple of years earlier, Robert Rodriguez's movie. And then The Wrestler came out, and this was his big brief comeback to critical acclaim. He was winning awards. I believe he won the Golden Globe for his performance in this film. He was nominated for an Oscar. People were pulling for him. I believe Sean Penn won the Oscar instead for Milk. I believe that was that year, the Gus Van Sant film. And then Mickey Rourke has kind of also now disappeared off the face of the planet once again. Well, not so much, but his career kind of did. His career, yes. Him, no.
I think it's because people realize how difficult he can be.
Yeah, he is an incredibly difficult guy to work with.
He's a very controversial person.
Yes, very much so. And so his career after this, he was in a couple of things. I mean, after this, he was in Iron Man 2.
He was in Expendables movie.
He was in Expendables, which I heard he was just
barely
tough to work with.
Yeah.
And then his career kind of slowly faded away after that.
He's back in the B world.
Yeah, back into that world once again. But I remember when this movie hit and people were buzzing about this movie, so I had to see it. I was just starting off to watch more like mature films of the time in the late 2000s. This was around the time when I was watching, like The Departed, Michael Clayton, and all this kind of stuff. This was the first Aronofsky film I ever saw. And if you are not familiar with Aronofsky's work, he's not an easy director to get into because his stuff is so tough. It can be tough, it can be brutal, it can be emotional, and it can get you. For example, Requiem for a Dream, not the best place to start off with. That movie will beat you to shreds. That movie will get you.
I believe
the thing is, I love Aronofsky's work, though.
Yeah. I believe I watched Black Swan first.
Black Swan came out after that, I believe in 2010. I think it came out.
Maybe I saw The Wrestler first.
He started finding his niche with The Wrestler, if you ask me. I think.
Really? The thing is, I love his more bonkers stuff. I love The Fountain.
I love Mother.
Yeah,
Mother's crazy. That's
Mother
crazy.
was
going back to those old movies that he did.
Mother was the first time I was in a movie theater and people walked out in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I think I've told this story before. I maybe on Chasing Labels once upon a time. I walked in with people, and you can kind of tell maybe this is not going to be the movie for them. Those were the people who ended up walking out.
Yeah.
I think they just went to see it because Jennifer Lawrence was in it, and they were thinking, hey, it's a Jennifer Lawrence movie, whatever. But they ended up walking out partway through the movie. But I do like Mother. What's interesting is his recent work, Caught Stealing, is completely different than like even The Wrestler. It's very different. So he's a really interesting, unique director. He's got that same type of edge to him, like a David Fincher and other people like him.
He's like David Fincher meets Scorsese, because Scorsese's
but more realistically harsh.
Yeah.
I was what I mean?
He's got a lot of religious themes throughout a lot of his films, That's something that Scorsese has done a lot too.
Yeah, well, he did direct the movie Noah, which no one seems to talk about with Russell Crowe.
Yeah, that was decent. That was deep. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. I'll be honest with you.
But of course, Mother has got a whole religious
theme.
It's the Bible.
It's the Bible.
It's about the planet.
Time.
It's about the planet. It's about planet Earth. Mother Earth is basically.
It's about but it's
more about humanity.
It's wrapped up in the book. It's depicting the Bible in the whole movie, though.
It's he has the ability to be incredibly straightforward, like with The Wrestler. It's a character drama film, and then he can go incredibly artistic and off the wall.
He does The Whale.
The Whale is another film.
Oh, I cried.
I didn't love that movie. That movie.
There's a lot. That's a very controversial film. I've seen everybody like Dan who loves it, and I've seen people who think it's the worst movie ever.
I don't think it's the worst shit I've seen, but it's like there's something about it that's just like.
People think it's incredibly beautiful and meaningful and life-affirming and all that stuff, and then people think it's just exploitative garbage. Like it's so wild.
There is a little bit of an insensitivity. I felt there's maybe a little bit of like, I'm not sure what he's getting at here.
He knows how to get a great performance out of an actor. I'll give him.
Oh, he does for sure. He's had many nominated actors throughout his career.
Yeah, I was thinking of his filmography the other day, and I was remembering that Pi, which is his first film, incredibly experimental, incredibly low budget, finally has a Blu-ray release through A24, which I don't think a lot of people know that movie finally got a Blu-ray release because it was stuck on DVD for many, many years.
Yeah, I love The Wrestler though. I think you guys. I'm a massive wrestling fan, so when I saw that movie, I was like, oh my god, this is really showing the true nature of what wrestling was. And he really, Mickey Rourke really went there. And the pain and the suffering that he goes through and he puts people through in that movie is, it's very similar to kind of the pain and the suffering that they go through in a way in Rust and Bone. So very good pairing. I know you put a lot into thought into your pairings.
I do.
Yeah, very good.
I kind of do the most obvious thing possible with my pairings if I can help it. I was gonna do these Four Musketeers movie, and I was gonna have another swashbuckling sword movie called Highlander as my surprise pick.
Nice. I would have loved that.
How obvious would that have been, right? Highlander
would be awesome.
I don't think that's super obvious, but that would have been a funner one.
That would have been an interesting pairing, just because.
Even though I'm not a Highlander fan,
it's just swords. They're just swords and stuff like that. Speaking of which, they're making they were currently shooting the Highlander remake, and then they had to stall the production.
Yeah,
because Cavill got injured.
Yeah, he hurt his foot.
Yeah.
But I love this. I love this show. My favorite.
I'm the one who brings it down. I'm the one who brings it down.
Yeah, everybody needs a popcorn movie guy. You're the mainstreamy guy. Me and Andrew are the weirdo. We do the more indie stuff. Out of nowhere. We need somebody to keep the steady. For the everybody. You're the everyman. All right, calm down. It's okay. Everybody's got to have that guy. But that is it for this installment of the Unwatched Pile. Once again, thanks, Dan, for joining us. You can find Dan regularly on our other show, Movies Down Memory Lane. Recently, we just talked about one of my picks, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. You can go check that out on there and all the previous episodes we've done. Next time we do that show, we'll be talking about Andrew's next pick, which is, remind me?
Almost Famous.
Almost Famous.
Cameron Crowe film from the year 2000.
Yes, it is a favorite. It is one of my favorites as well. So that'll be a good one.
I can't find my 4K.
That's not good. That's not good. You're gonna have to rent that thing. But of course, Chasing Labels was just the night before. So go check that out. So audio's also up already, so you can check that out there, and all the other stuff we're doing in the reviews that we just recently put up for Criterion. Like I said earlier, yes. That is it. So with that said, guys, what are you still doing here? See you, bye. Rock.